What's up, everybody? Derek here with the Bass Factory. And today, I may be going over my new favorite $70 reel. Let's see if I can say this right. This is the Piscifun Phantom. And I did a little research and I found out what Piscifun actually stands for. Pissy stands for, in Latin, fishing, or fish. So fish fun, which is a strange name, but a little backstory on this company, since this is the first reel that I've owned by them. It was founded by two guys from the US, but the reels are made in China. And one way that these things are a lot cheaper, I believe, is because one of those guys is actually a reel manufacturer, a part of the reel manufacturing business. So I think he's got connections. And kind of like Cast King, how they lower their distribution costs and everything by putting it on platforms and selling items like on Amazon, which is where I purchased this for 70 bucks. But this is a real good reel and I've really come to like it already. I've only been fishing with it one time, so the amazing and impressive part of this reel is it only weighs 5.7 ounces, which is super light. Because I know I just bought that Cast King setup, which was $40, and it casts great, but you know, it was 7-something ounces. This is 5.7 ounces, which is crazy. And one of the reasons and one of the ways that they actually lower that weight is it's got a one-piece graphite frame and 2 graphite side plates here. And one of the cool things is that's not in a lot of other reels is they ported this reel, which means they drilled holes all over the reel. It's got them in the sides, it's got it on the main body of the spool, and it's also got a hardened aluminum main gear in this thing, which makes it lighter, and it's got a carbon fiber reel handle, which is becoming a lot more common with a lot of reels these days. This spool holds 120 yards of line depending upon what line size you're going with. It says 30-pound braid or 10-pound mono or fluoro. You can get 120 yards of line on there, but that's a perfect amount of line because say you break off once, you can retie and you still have enough on there to keep fishing. For one revolution of the reel handle or one turn, that's 30 inches of line. So you're going to get a bait in fairly quickly whenever you're reeling it in. It has 7-to-1 gear ratio with 7 bearings. 6 of those are roller bearings and 1 shielded bearing. And if you're looking at a reel and it says it's 6 bearings or 12 or however many bearings it is, don't go by how many bearings it is to determine how well it's going to cast. The only way to figure that out is once you get it out there on the water because of the quality of the bearings that are in it. This thing has a 17-pound drag, 4 disc brakes inside of it, and that is plenty of drag for a reel, especially if you're bass fishing. 17 pounds is a perfect amount of size. I've already said that it has a carbon fiber reel handle. It has EVA foam grips and a drag system that clicks, which is one of the things that I really like. I don't know if you can hear that, but it clicks whenever you adjust it, and with that star drag system right there. It's got a spool tension knob that clicks as well, which you go down one notch, you hear one little click, which I really like that about it. And on the braking system, it's got a magnetic brake that is 0 to 10, but it's got a centrifugal, however you want to say that, centrifugal brake system on the inside here. And to get in on the inside, it's got a little pin right here, and you just hit that and then rotate it downwards. And whenever you pull this out, you want to watch out because you don't want to pull the spool out with it. But that comes apart, so you've got those 2 pieces apart. And whenever I adjust this centrifugal brake, which is actually the beginning of your cast, you'll want to do it depending upon what size lure you really have, because if you've got something light, you're going to want to turn that up. If you've got something a little bit heavier, you may want to go more towards in the middle, because you do not want to bird nest whenever you're doing this with something that's bigger. But it's harder, I've noticed, to adjust it as it's sitting inside of there in the body of the reel. So if you take that spool and you just pull it out just a little bit, that's how I do it, then you can actually get to these the grips on the side of the centrifugal brake and adjust it. And it's 0 through 6. So, and what's cool about this also is, instead of the little pin type, it evenly distributes the 6 pins that are in here depending upon how you turn it up. So that's the centrifugal brake. And to put it back on there, you just pop it on the side and it clicks right back in. And the magnetic brake, which is the end of your cast, you're going to want to turn that up on light lures, or if you're casting into the wind or whatnot. But I usually like to go around a 4 or a 5 and then play with it as I go from there. But it's got a 0 to 10 and it clicks as well, which is a pretty cool thing. I just like the click for some reason. I know that I'm adjusting things and it's by sight most of the time and by feel when you're casting, but just to hear that click is a little added thing that they put in these reels. You know, I took this thing out and I've been fishing one time. I had 30-pound braid on here and I went fishing with a 7-ounce swim bait, which is a large swim bait. It weighed definitely over an ounce. I'm not sure exactly how much it weighed, but it was heavy. And I was getting consistently 50 to 60 yard casts. I know that can depend upon your rod tip a lot of the time, but I was having no issues casting that thing into the wind. You know, it was just casting so great for me until I actually bird nest finally with this thing. And when it bird nested, I waved goodbye to that swim bait. That thing just like a rocket was gone. And so then after that, I tied on a 4.5-inch little jointed swim bait, and that one was right at about an ounce, I think. And I was casting that thing, getting 40 to 50 yard casts every time with just little effort. It was casting great. I very rarely bird nested with that swim bait. And then just to try it out, I did some pitching with that little swim bait. I know a 1-ounce bait is, fairly heavy, especially pitching, but if you're flipping mats and stuff, that's perfect. But you got a 1/2-ounce jig, you're flipping into reeds and other vegetation and stuff. It was actually pitching very well when I was doing that. And then after that, I did not have a Senko or a stick bait with me, but I wanted to try something weightless. So I had a wacky rig worm, or not a wacky rig worm, I had a wacky rig hook with me. So I tagged that on, and then I had a little Zoom swim bait, which is about the size of a Senko. So I tied that on, adjusted this thing up. I had to take the centrifugal brake and turn that thing way up, and then turn up my magnetic brake because I had a side wind. And it was probably a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and I was casting at least 30 to 40 yards every cast with this thing. The one thing I noticed I had to do is I really had to feather this thing. As I was casting, I had to feather with my thumb as I was letting that thing out. And I was getting 30 to 40 yard casts, which is real good with a bait caster with such a light weight like that. I would definitely advise you guys getting one of these reels. For $70, that's hard to beat. If you're looking for a reel that's under $100 and you want something that has good performance, the only thing with it is going to be the longevity of it, how long it's going to last. But so far, after fishing one time and it being so lightweight and getting good casting distance and good accuracy and just, no issues with this thing whatsoever, I'll definitely be fishing with it again, and I would buy another one. So you guys, subscribe if you haven't already, like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.